Hello everyone, my name is Silver Contrails, and today we are going to be playing some Feed the Beast, and specifically, this is going to be a video series where I'm going to try to get people up to speed with Feed the Beast pretty much as quickly as possible and concisely as possible without trying to explain the entire thing, because it would be almost impossible. I just don't have the time to go over everything, and I'm sure people don't want to see me put out tutorial videos every single episode, which is almost what I'd have to do to even cover a fraction of what Feed the Beast contains. So if you're unaware, Feed the Beast is a mod pack which you can download online. I've talked about this before. I've uploaded videos of it before. You can check out my FTB Let's Play series. I think it's like 5 episodes or something. I kind of started a world and then I stopped it. Originally I was going to play that world as a straight up Let's Play, and I ended up kind of getting away from it because I was going way too fast and I wasn't recording anything, and it was really tough to record because my frames weren't very good. But I finally found, I think, a fairly stable way to record. I'm getting like 50 frames a second, which is actually a lot better than what I normally get. I'm using a new program called Game Booster, and I've got Optifine on finally. So we'll have to see how that works. I am playing on a Flatland world right now, so I haven't tested it in anything else. But if that works out, I'd like to continue playing the world that I've recorded on before. But I'm going to take things a little bit slower and work on things fairly easy to grasp at the beginning, for people who may be a little bit newer to Feed the Beast, just to try to get stuff out there. I just really don't want to start over a new world. I'm playing FTB Ultimate version 1.0.1, and yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Set time. Day. Oh. Is that not a command anymore? I don't know. I can always set it to dawn from here. Yeah, so let's talk about some things. First of all, you might notice some new blocks here. Yes, this is Feed the Beast. There's about 70 mods in here, 70 plus. I'm not sure. In creative mode, you can see that you have all the different tabs, but you can also switch pages, flip over, and here are each of the tabs for each of the different mods. In here, not every mod, I think, has a page, and some of the stuff kind of bleeds over into the regular pack. Like if I'm just in building blocks, I can scroll down and I can see some non-vanilla items, especially some beehives in here. And there's a lot of stuff, especially like in the redstone too. There's a bunch of red power stuff. But yeah, these are all the different mods in here, and there's a lot to talk about. I mean, I could spend a ton of episodes just spotlighting each, but if you want to see these, I would highly suggest checking out Direwolf's videos. If you're confused on how to start playing Feed the Beast, check out Enigmia's. He's got a pretty good starter guide. I'm going to kind of talk about starting, but I'm going to go through it pretty quickly, so you'll get kind of an overview, and then probably have to spend some time looking it up. This is definitely a mod pack where you got to spend a little bit of time with the wiki open. I still do. You know, I'm always checking on things. There's a lot here. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot here. But I'm going to start with probably the biggest mod in here, and arguably one of the most important, which is Industrial Craft 2 and its child mods, I guess you could say, the mods that are kind of thrown in there, which I believe is the... This might not be it. So the Industrial Craft 2 stuff, and then Greg Tech as well. Now, I'm not totally familiar with Greg Tech. I'll touch upon this a little bit later. But yeah, mostly Industrial Craft, because this is sort of your infrastructure. This is kind of the first thing you want to go after. Although maybe not exactly the first stuff you're going to build. So let's go and check out some Industrial Craft stuff, and we'll talk about what exactly goes on here. The first thing I want to talk about are the Tier 1 setups. This is kind of the basic machines that you'll set up early on in the game. And to note some of the mods that are kind of like right in your face, in the upper right hand corner I have a minimap mod, which I can't really select because it disappears. The minimap works like you'd expect. The next important mod to talk about is NEI. This is what you see on the right side of my screen, actually kind of surrounding my entire screen. It stands for not enough items. If you're familiar with too many items, it's basically very similar. And you can look at all the items in here. It's got a couple different modes. Right now I have it on cheat mode, so I can drag any item into my inventory. These are all the different items in the game, and you can use any of them that you want. most of the time, like when you're playing, it'll be set to recipe mode, and that means that if you click on something, it will show you the recipe and how to make it. You can also right-click on it to show any recipes where it is involved in. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about these things. And these are the Tier 1 industrial craft machines. These are kind of what you want to set up early game, and I'll explain why. The first item I think that is fairly obvious. As soon as you know what it does, you're like, okay, I need to get one of these, is the Mace Raider. So what the Mace Raider does is pretty simple. If I grab some ore, let's take iron. If I grab some ore and I put it into the Mace Raider, what'll happen, and we can look at the recipes here. Where's a good recipe? Oh man, there's a lot of recipes in here. There's like 150 or something. That is interesting. Here we go. You can see that in the recipes for the Macerator, if you put iron ore, the Macerator will turn that iron ore into 2 iron dust. So what does iron dust do? Well, if you take iron dust and you put it in... That's not what I want. Oh, I need to right-click on it. Right-clicking on it shows me all the recipes that it's involved in. If you smelt iron dust, you get an iron ingot. So let's compare this with the electric furnace here. So basically, if you macerate this, you put this in here while it's got power, it will create 2 iron dust. You take the 2 iron dust, you put them in here, top slot, and it sends them over to here. It's just basically like a regular furnace, or you can actually use a regular furnace if you want, and this creates 2 ingots. So what you do is you put in 1 ore, and you get out 2 ingots. So this is doubling your ore output. So when you go mining, and you come back, you actually get twice as many ores as what you dug up, as long as it can be macerated. Now, obviously, you can only really macerate ores. And there are a couple of other types of materials. You can't really macerate diamonds. You can't turn diamonds into dust and then do that same process over and over again, because otherwise you'd simply be able to repeat the entire thing. And that said, now I talked just briefly about energy. You'll need energy to power these things, and the best way to do that is to use a generator, which generates energy, as you might expect. A generator works a little bit like a furnace, so if you've got coal, let's grab some coal real quick. Oh, that's charcoal, which you can use charcoal. If we put some coal into the generator, it will start burning and it'll start sending power. Now normally it'll just kind of store power and it will just kind of sit there with power in it. It's got a little bit of an internal storage, and this bar here will fill up. But right now it's sending all this power to a Batbox, and you can see that it's filling up with EU. EU is the energy used in industrial craft. And we filled it up to 4,000 out of 40,000, so 1/10 of its total capacity, with 1 piece of coal. Now the Batbox is pretty simple. It just receives power from any of its side, and then it outputs it on the side with a dot. You can see that it doesn't have any dots, and then it's got a dot on this side, and that's pretty standard for the other machines that we'll talk about. But in order to transfer this power, we're going to need to move these guys or have them linked up somehow. So one thing we could do is we could take the Macerator and we could plug it right here, and this will now receive power. You can see that in an unpowered Macerator, this little lightning bolt here is off. There's nothing there, and then in here it's red. So if we throw this in, we can see that it will very slowly start to fill up, and eventually will output the iron dust that we created. So we can create the iron dust and we can power this thing, but this is only powering the 1 block. If we leave this guy here, it's going to sit there and only be powered. So we need to power all of our machines, and the best way to do that is with cable, in this case copper cable. So again, here's the Macerator. It just output 2 iron dust from 1 piece of iron ore. So I've doubled my ore output. I just got to put these things in a furnace of some sort, and it will turn it into 2 ingots. But like I said, if you take copper cable and you hook all these guys up, it'll take a little bit of... Actually, I'll suck up all my power because it's trying to... I think it's trying to macerate that ore that I put in there earlier. You can see the electric furnace running, and... Oh, it managed to put out 1. It actually ran out of power because the Batbox ran out of power. And there's still another iron dust in there, so again, you can see how it doubles your ore output. I mean, if that's not enough reason to build a macerator, then I really don't know what is. This is really cool. It does a lot more than that, of course. And then the electric furnace runs off of energy instead of coal or burnable materials. And there's some other machines that I'll talk about briefly here in a minute. So, a Batbox and a generator combo, sending your power to machines, double your ore output, you can smelt things without using coal. And yeah, that's really cool. Definitely something that you want to try to get set up. But say you need to, early game, you still want to double your ores, because making a macerator might not be easy, especially if you're playing with Greg Tech set on. So we'll look up the crafting recipe for a macerator. A macerator requires 3 flint, 2 cobblestone, a machine block, and an electronic circuit. So a machine block is refined iron, which is simply iron put through a furnace again. It also requires an electronic circuit, which again uses that same refined iron, and it takes 2 redstone, and it takes 6 copper cables, and you get 6 copper cables when you combine 3 rubbers and 3 copper. And rubber, or rubber bars, mostly you use rubber. Rubber is obtained from rubber trees, which are, if you look them up, they'll be pretty obvious when you see them. They've got a little stalk sticking out of the top, in the kind of a black thing, and they've got these little nodules on them that you can, in fact, we'll go ahead and bring one up. Rubber tree, and we'll get some bone meal and some dirt. Go ahead and check this out. Hopefully we get some saplings, or some, yeah, so you see this little orange piece. You need to use a tree tap with it, which is made with wood. It's pretty easy to make. We're going to run out of... It's time to dawn. We're out of sunlight again. And what it'll do is it'll give you the rubber, the extract, which is sticky resin, which you can find right here. And it'll just give you some amount of this every time you go over to these, and they'll regrow every time. Right in the spot, you'll find another sticky resin after a little while if you wait. It's random where they'll appear, if they appear at all. And basically what you do with that is you stick them in your furnace, and you can get the rubber out of it. But if you stick it in an extractor, you get a little bit more. It's a little bit more efficient to put it in the extractor than it is to put it in a furnace. You get like 3 out of this versus a lot less. I kind of want to find the recipe for it. Yeah, you get 3 out of this as opposed to 1 if you put it in a furnace. And I don't think this one's going to finish. Nope. You can't burn saplings. So basically that's kind of your beginning setup, and the reason that I suggest using the extractor is that you're going to end up making a lot of these... Oh, that's not what I wanted. A lot of these electronic circuits. You're going to use a lot of copper cable, and it's particularly because you want to connect your machines with copper cable too when you start out. The last item here is a compressor. This is that allows us to make some advanced materials that we'll get to in a bit. And this is sort of your beginning setup. You're going to have a generator. You're going to be generating power with coal, or coke coal, perhaps. You can look that up. Check it out. It's really useful. And then you're going to send that to your Batbox, and you're going to send from your Batbox to all of your machines here. The one thing to note is that if you break any of these machines with a pickaxe, they will not necessarily drop the block that they are. Like if you break a macerator, it won't drop a macerator necessarily. I believe some of the higher tier machines will instead only drop a generator in some cases. I'm not sure exactly what these guys drop if you break them. So you might want to invest in a wrench pretty early on. An electric wrench you can use, but an Omni wrench is the best thing. It costs 2 diamonds, but it's very well worth it. It works with all these machines, and we'll talk about that in a bit. You can change the size of these things, and you can pick them up. If you click here, and just pick them up like that. But yeah, the macerator lets you make some advanced materials, advanced alloys, and carbon plates. So we're going to need that fairly soon. Your Batbox holds 40,000 power, and that's great and all, but what exactly can we do with the Batbox that has power besides send it to these machines here? You know, why do we even need a Batbox if we're just going to hook our generator up directly to it, to our machines and whatever? If we're running our machines all the time, you know, Batbox is convenient, but it might not be necessary. Well, we can do one other thing with the Batbox, which is charge stuff. So we can look up a drill. We want a standard mining drill, which has no power right now. And we can get some more coal. So get some more coal here. Oh, these are kind of silly. I'm actually not really sure how to use any. I use mostly the creative mode stuff. So we can see that we're powering up our Batbox again, and it's sending power to our machines. It's kind of charging our machines. It just outputted the iron ingots here that we set up earlier in the furnace, and now it's charging after all the machines are ready to go. Now what I can do is I can throw this mining drill in here, and it will charge up a little bit, because it's not totally full yet. As it generates more power, you know, put some more coal in there and it'll generate more power. This thing can hold up to 10,000 EU. The Batbox holds 40,000 EU, so it takes up 1/4 of the Batbox. Basically, what this is a pick. It's kind of hard to show because I'm in creative mode, but it works basically like a pick, but it never breaks. It just runs out of energy, and you throw it back in your Batbox, and there you go. Another really cool item is the electric jetpack, which is incredibly useful. I mean, this is one of the things you want to make right away if you can do it. Electric jetpack right here. Oh, too far. And it is great. So actually, you should look it up on NEI. Electric. Search the recipe. Oop. It's kind of a pain to do this in creative mode. Which again takes a Batbox that you already made, the refined iron, some glowstone, so you gotta go to the nether, and it takes an advanced circuit, which is basically an electronic circuit that we talked about before that has the copper cable and the redstone. Basically, expect to make a lot of these regular circuits. But then you gotta surround it with some glowstone, some lapis, and some redstone, which once again isn't really that difficult to do. And you throw this together, you've got a jetpack. It lets you fly pretty good. It's not like creative mode flying, but it does let you actually accelerate up really quick. So that's kind of your basic setup. But when you start to get to more impressive things, so you want to go mining, and you're using your drill, and sure, you can upgrade your drill to a diamond drill, but, and there I go again, to your diamond drill by adding in diamonds, and it's flickering between diamond dust. Which you can do, and then you can drill a little bit faster, but maybe you want something more impressive than that, so maybe you get the mining laser. The mining laser is pretty crazy. It really does just kind of plow through everything, and it's a... There we go again. It really is an impressive piece of technology, and it requires advanced alloys, which you make using the compressor. Takes metal, you basically craft these mixed metal ingots using refined iron bronze, which is a component of tin and copper. You can look that up as well. A little bit more tin, and you make 2 metal ingots. You stick them in a compressor, and it creates the advanced alloys. Again, I apologize a little bit if I'm going too fast here. It also takes energy crystals, which you can make conveniently by using some form of ruby, which you'll find a lot of, surrounded by redstone. Don't use the diamond one. Use the one with the ruby, because it's cheaper. And then, I think that's all it takes. Another advanced circuit, and then some redstone. Now this guy is really cool. You can definitely toy around with that in creative mode if you want. I'm not going to really talk about it too much more than saying, if you look at the energy that it can hold up to 200,000 EU, which is way more than the Batbox holds. Our Batbox holds 40,000. This is 200,000. So we need bigger storage, basically. The Batbox will not charge a mining laser. We can put it in here, and it won't do anything. So how do we charge it? Well, we gotta upgrade our storage energy to an MFE. So an MFE holds 600,000 EU, or if that's like 40,000, and this is 600,000. So that's a pretty big step up. This holds basically 3 times the amount that a mining laser holds. And we can charge this the same exact way. We can use generators. For this one, I have hooked up a geothermal generator, and the reason I have that is because it's a little bit better, it outputs more, and we don't have to use up our coal on it. We instead put lava in it, and then it sends that lava to here. You get more energy per bucket of lava than you do if you're using like coal. So it's definitely more efficient to use lava, because if you've ever been to the Nether, there's quite the abundance of lava. And there's definitely a lot of ways you can get that, and I'll leave that up to you to creatively think about until I show you my setup later. So the MFE though has its kind of a problem that we run into when we start to talk about voltages, which is something I believe is pretty much unique to Industrial Craft. I don't think any of the other mods really have this, that have energy concerns. We don't really talk about voltage too much, but voltage is a pretty big issue in Industrial Craft, and it can cause some problems if you're not prepared for it. So we've stored up 20,000 EU from one bucket of lava, which is actually half that what a Batbox can hold, so that's quite a bit of energy, but still not very much compared to what the MFE can hold. Now, if we compare the GUIs here, we can see that this Batbox outputs 32 EU per tick. The MFE outputs 128 EU per tick. So again, an EU is an energy unit for this mod, Industrial Craft, and a tick is 1/20th of a second. So this is sort of like a Minecraft instance, the rate at which Minecraft updates itself. And there are 20 ticks per second, so if you multiply this amount by 20, that's how much EU is being produced every second. And you can do the math yourself. Or not being produced, I should say. This is how much is being sent out. Even more importantly, this is how fast EU is being sent out. Is probably the biggest thing, and that's basically our concept of voltage, which is our, how fast you're sending voltage from one thing to another thing. Can that item receive that much voltage? What happens if I send 128 EU per tick to a machine that isn't ready to hold that much? So let's find out. Actually, we're gonna send this power. Using a copper cable and see what happens. Oh, our copper cable disappeared. In fact, it's going to keep disappearing every time I try to place it. Although eventually, if I keep spamming it, it will stay until I try to send more power through it. The reason this is happening is because copper cable can't handle the EU voltage that's being out. This outputs a low voltage, 32 EU per tick. This is outputting medium voltage at a rate of 128 units per tick. There's 4 voltages. There's low, medium, high, and extreme. For medium voltage, which is what the MFE outputs, if I hook a machine directly up with this, and to use this, I need to use the gold cable or something higher. If I hook a machine directly up, so we'll take this electric furnace for instance, and then I try to run the furnace, that happens. Yep, it just blows up, and it creates quite a big hole. So that really should tell you the importance of hooking up the right machines. You don't want to hook up a machine that can't take that much energy to something else that, from a high power. You don't want to send something from a higher voltage to a lower voltage machine that can't handle it. So how do we get around this? Because we want to use the MFE for storage, but we still want to power our machines. Well, we can send it to a transformer. This is actually a low voltage transformer. It's going to take an input on its 3-dot side. We're going to send it with a 2 times insulated gold cable, and then we're going to send it out into another machine. And I'll just grab a furnace again, I guess, and put this here. And then if I put anything in it, I don't necessarily know if I have anything. Let's put some sand in there just to make glass, I guess. You can see it runs without a problem. And this has transformed that voltage. It is now outputting at 32 EU per tick. And we're of course draining from here, and it's perfectly fine. Everything's working. Now of course, now that we have this much energy to send, we can send it to, say, an induction furnace which lets us smelt 2 stacks of items simultaneously and speeds up as you put more items in it, which is kind of cool. So we can power tier 2 setups with this, which are kind of noticeable. You can tell they've got the little block on the top of them. They're more expensive to produce, just like the MFE, which if we look up in our NEI, MFE, click away, recipe, requires 4 energy crystals, two times insulated gold cables, and 1 machine block. And these, again, energy crystals you may have already made. The gold cables, which are basically... Oh, there's a crafting recipe for 4 of them. Let's see. This is the one I usually use, which is 1 gold cable, and then 2 rubbers. The rubbers we made before. The gold cable is simply 3 gold in a row, and you get 12 of them. So they're not too expensive to make. You'll get a lot of gold. And rarely use it outside of maybe this, especially in industrial craft. Okay, so the next thing we need to talk about is kind of the end. Well, I guess I wouldn't say end gamey, but kind of getting. Actually, let me go back to this. So remember, we talked about going to the MFE because we need to charge things. So if I get a laser again, this is a fully powered laser, which you can change the settings of. I'll just put it on mining, and then you can shoot through things, and it's kind of cool. You can just shoot pew pew pew, and it actually works really well underground. Horizontal mode is really cool. But I'm using up energy on it, so it's down to 187,000 EU. Really not that much, but still something. If I put it in here, it will charge. It will take energy from the MFE, just like the drill did, except I can actually charge it in here because it's got enough energy to start. So, kind of getting to the point of industrial craft, what you want to be able to do is charge your weapons, charge your tools, and charge your armor as well, so you can get some really cool stuff. So let's go back to the industrial craft page. So you can get, again, I kind of showed off the jetpacks, which you can get the mining laser, and then stuff like the diamond drill, and the chainsaw, which works like kind of like an axe and kind of like a sword. And you can upgrade these to like the advanced diamond drill. They're really cool. I have no idea what these are. There's some advanced jetpacks as well, but you can also charge armor too, so you can get nano armor, which, like all the other items in here, does not have durability, but instead charges. And so when you take damage, it reduces charge instead of reducing its durability. And then you can also get the quantum stuff later on in the game, which requires some specific items, and that comes down to the mass fabricator to basically give for us. So this is kind of the last step that we're going to get to, and we've got the MFSU. So we've gone from the Batbox to the MFE to the MFSU, which holds 10 million EU and outputs at 512 EU per tick, so it's quite a bit more. This is outputting high voltage power, so if we hook this up to any of the machines we saw previously, they will explode. So we've got to output this guy to a one of these, which is a medium voltage transformer, so it turns our high voltage into medium voltage, and then we can hook this up to a low voltage transformer, and then we can hook up all of our low voltage machines as well as all our medium voltage machines, and we can hook anything off of this this cable here. We can send this to any of our high voltage accepting machines, which in this case we've got the mass fabricator set up. So the mass fabricator is probably one of the coolest items in industrial craft. What it does is it takes 1 million EU to create 1 UU matter. So I'll kind of show what exactly this does. And the first thing, I'll talk a little bit more about energy generation. Solar panels are a cool way to get energy. We can hook this up to our MFSU, and you can see that it's charging, although it's immediately sending energy over to this guy here. The mass fabricator has a 0% progress right now, because, like I said, it's trying to use up a lot of, or it's going to have to use up a lot of energy. 1 million EU. It's already at 1%. 1 million EU is 1/10 of this MFSU, which is holding 10 million EU itself. So that's a lot. But this will take our high voltage in it as well. Another option you might look into is one of these, which is a thermal generator. It's an advanced form of the geothermal generator, and it creates a certain amount of energy and outputs it faster to your other blocks when it gets lava. So it'll take in lava and then send the energy over. And this is a GregTech item, so that kind of lets us segue over into GregTech. So what GregTech is it's a mod that adds a bunch of stuff, a lot of stuff, to Industrial Craft. And it lets us have a ton of fun building some cool things, a lot of multi-block structures. However, what GregTech also attempts to do is balance this game. It attempts to create a balancing between the endgame nature of the mass fabricator and some of the other stuff you can get in here, and really slow down your ability to generate massive amounts of energy by making everything costly. It actually goes in and changes recipes. So if you saw some of these recipes and you said to yourself, well, mine don't look anything like that despite playing on the Ultimate Pack as well, that's because of GregTech. If you've got GregTech installed, which in the Ultimate Pack it is by default, it will change your recipes. And my frames just died for a moment. Okay, they're back. GregTech will change your recipes, and it'll change recipes of actually quite a few different mods. It's really stuck its fingers in a lot of things. You can disable this very easily just by going to your configuration files, and it's just open a notepad, change a bunch of things that say true to false, and you're good to go. I have disabled most of the GregTech recipes for that reason, because I do not like playing with GregTech, but it's totally acceptable if you want to. There's like some debate, but I really don't care. I personally do not want to play with GregTech, and that's completely my choice. I still play with the items in there, but I don't play with the GregTech hard recipes on, except for I think a couple that I think are acceptable. So yeah, I think it's about time to wrap this episode up. What I want to just show off in the last thing here is this mass fabricator. I just hooked up a high voltage solar panel, or an ultimate hybrid solar panel, which is basically one of the best ways to get energy. If you take scrap and you put it in here, we can basically speed this thing up a ridiculous amount until it creates some UU matter. If you've got enough UU matter, you can craft almost any item in the game. Mostly vanilla items, not a whole lot of mod items. Like, you can't really craft stuff from like bees and stuff. You can't really make any of that stuff. What you can make is diamonds, of course. If you got 9 of them and you craft them into a full grid, you will get you'll just get a diamond and then be able to go from there. And even with 2, you can create some weird things. Like, you can make sand, you can make a cactus, and whatever you want. I'm pretty sure you can make cactus. Yeah, I think you can. It's a little endgamey because clearly, if you do have the materials to run it, it's very potent and it lets you create a lot of stuff. That's why GregTech makes you slow it down a lot. But I like the mass fabricator. I think it's pretty cool, and the recycling and all those aspects, and more things you can definitely look up. So what I would suggest starting off is look into Industrial Craft. It's probably one of the good getting started mods. In the next episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Buildcraft side of things. Buildcraft, thermal expansion, those are some other mods to look at, and it offers a different approach. Similar but different to this, and there's some cool items you want to get on that side of things, where we talk about EU over here, and we're going to talk about MJs over there, which is a different form of energy, and that's all fun and stuff. So anyways, let me know what you guys think. I'm trying some new stuff with this, and I'll do another tutorial pretty soon if I can. Also, let me know if it looks good. Right now I'm getting some pretty good frames, so I'm pretty hopeful. I think this would be a cool series to do. If you guys have any questions, of course, ask them, and I'll try to address them in my videos. And yeah, until next time then.